Hello, I'm Andy Ristaino. I'm going to be talking a little bit about character design. And I guess the first thing I'm going to talk about is I have, a piece of plexiglass, sketchbook, and a really ratty box of pencils that usually has a pencil sharpener in them. I just bring this stuff everywhere so I can draw. I can sit in a chair and draw or go on a train and draw. I'll start with the Explorer. I'm going to just go with what my brain thinks. When I think of an Arctic Explorer, I think of the gear you have to wear to be an Arctic Explorer. So I want someone with like a huge jacket. I guess that's the first thing I think of, is a giant jacket with like a little hands, a little face, and the guy's got to have facial hair. If it's a guy, it doesn't have to be a guy. Could be a woman with a beard. I always draw with red pencil or blue pencil first. Some sort of colored pencil so I can kind of sketch the idea and kind of narrow down the idea first before I go into things. Sketch everything out first lightly, and then I can go over it with 3B pencils. Lead pencils and or graphite pencils because they have such a nice dark line, and it's nice and soft. Yeah, so you draw whatever with the red first and narrow down what the idea is, and then you go over it with a darker line to kind of show where the actual lines you want are. Usually I start from imagination, but there's definitely times when I'm like, oh, I don't know quite how to draw that. I'll look stuff up. Or like if I know I'm going to have to design like a bug or something, I'll look at a bunch of bugs first, like a few days before, and just kind of really get my mind thinking about stuff. And then when I draw, though, I like to, I don't like to look at reference while I draw, because I feel like it limits what I draw. You know, I end up sticking too closely to the reference. So if I don't look at anything, it kind of, whatever my mind processed from the stuff I was looking at turns into what I draw on paper. And yeah, so you're kind of like filtering your ideas through your brain and your hand and your memory, and it just I don't have the greatest memory, so it changes a lot once it's filtered through my head. I like to draw a lot of ideas and try to vary shapes and form and before I come up with a final. That way you can look at stuff and be like, oh, this idea was cooler, or, you know, like, I would say usually your first idea is not the best idea. Maybe your 10th idea is the best idea or something. Or if you have a whole bunch of different ideas, you know, you could pick like the top 3 and maybe 2 others could turn into different characters that you use, or you can swap pieces and mix and match until you narrow down exactly what you want, you know. I just think it's good to kind of come up with, you know, to really mess around and kind of at first try to go in a bunch of different directions, so you can see kind of what you like and what fits in with the world you're building. I collect books and graphic novels and art books and stuff like that, and I am constantly going through my collection and weeding out things that I don't like. I've either grown beyond it, or I don't have any use for it anymore, or like I'm constantly bringing in new books and getting rid of old books. If I'm keeping a book around, it's because it still does things for me, like it still inspires me. I think the art is interesting, and I tend to collect stuff that like follows my interests. Yeah, it's just nice to have things around that you like to look at, you know, to you know, just kind of think about. I tend to also collect a lot of things that don't look anything like how I draw. Just because it's nice to see. It's just nice to see different viewpoints and just always have my mind kind of jogging around and looking at different things from different ways. And yeah, you don't want to get so focused on how you do things. You want to be kind of at least aware of what else is going on around you. I'll draw one drawing, and then the next drawing I'll try to find a different shape or organization that's either the first drawing isn't quite what I want, so I'll switch it up a bit, or the second drawing is a complete and opposite reaction to it. So like this guy has a round head, so I wasn't even thinking about it. I just kind of went for a different shape for the second head. You want to cover as many bases as possible as you're drawing, so you just keep riffing off yourself and trying to find new ways to look at something. So like the first one I drew a guy with a beard, so maybe the next one I'll start drawing like a female explorer, you know, and then the next one will be somebody with a, you know, maybe this guy's got a toque on and goggles, more of a skier, or I don't know, extreme explorer, which I know is not in the story, but maybe it takes place in modern times, this version, you know, or maybe with this one I was thinking, well, what if it's like the future, and for some reason parkas are now cubicle. I don't know, I just kind of try to come up with different funny ideas, or like this guy has a scarf on, but maybe like what if, you know, like his head is just wrapped in a scarf all the way up, so he's kind of like a mummy. And you can see his little eyes and his nose peeking out. And maybe some mustache and beard coming out the bottom. I don't know. I try to make myself laugh and add humor in. You know, like this guy has, like, I wanted him to be mostly suit, so, you know, like his hands are going to be tiny and his head is going to be tiny in this giant padded suit or something. Yeah, I just, you know, if you've drawn a guy with a big head and tiny hands, you know, maybe the next guy will be the opposite. So, really tiny head, giant shoulders, and giant hands. And you totally, like, once you start drawing a guy, you know, like, this guy's more of a lumberjack guy, like tough. I'll draw him again and again, and every time I draw this character, I slowly get to know, kind of, like this guy would probably freeze in the Arctic because he's not well dressed for it, but I don't know, I like, even though this guy's just standing here, I feel like I already kind of know what he's like. I'm not telling myself a story, it's kind of, you know, like the character starts to tell the story. I really don't try to, like when I'm making up characters, especially during this pass, I am not really thinking, I'm kind of on autopilot, and I'm just kind of letting the shapes kind of grow, you know, and I wish I was doing better drawings, but as I draw, you know, like I'll add, like, oh, this guy's got a monocle, you know, I don't know, just things to make them interesting. Not that monocles are interesting, but, you know, like the longer you draw a character, the more your mind wanders, and you might think of funny things, like why does he have this frog on his shoulder? Why? Is it frozen? How long has it been there? I don't know. You just start thinking of weird things, and then, like, if this is a game and he has a frog on his shoulder, like maybe that's part of his weaponry or something. You know, like you start thinking of ways to incorporate the things on his person that are, you know, that could be turned into something more than just a weird affectation for no reason. I try, generally, especially during this period, you know, I'll draw things I don't like I don't really like this drawing at all. But it doesn't matter, you know, this is a sketchbook, nothing should be perfect, you know, like, this is the first stage, so I just draw as much as I can for an hour or two, or until I get sick of it, you know, and sometimes when I get sick of it, I stop drawing and work on something else, go do something else, and then come back to it, draw a little bit more. And when it feels like I have enough variety and enough ideas that are interesting, like that's when I start looking at things critically. I don't know this character yet, so part of the process is making the mistakes and finding the things that you like. So, I mean, we could go to the next step. I could scan this stuff in, and I could combine aspects of them in the computer.